A very beautiful morning to you and welcome to Polity on Udala 104.7 FM. This very lovely Tuesday morning, today being the 16th day in the month of December in the year 2025. Obviously, everywhere is really stuck as far as Onitsha is concerned. We know very well that the anchors of this very program, they'll be here with us any moment from now to take charge. But meanwhile, we have to reel out some of the headlines making this very day. Do not forget, I'm still your Honorable Speaker Tony Olisa Mbeki. Franklin Ebuka will soon join this very program as we usually have it every Tuesday. Let's quickly get the headlines underway. So we begin with the Nation newspaper. There are so many stories on the Nation newspaper this very morning, and we have a lot of riders on Nation newspaper. We have the very big banner there. Buhari didn't name successor to save life, keep APC intact. Buhari didn't name successor to save life, keep APC intact. And is coming from the biography of ex-president as written by Omole. Okay, we have another one here. It says Supreme Court, president has power on emergency order, he can suspend governor. That's one of the headline stories on Nation newspaper. You also have a viral bandits footage result of interagency tension. Okay, we also have another that says police to resume enforcement of tinted glass permit. Okay, and that's another one on the Nation's newspaper. Police to resume enforcement of tinted glass permit. This will start January 2nd. And we also have another one saying that Tinubu Buhari thought Nigerians' public office is a trust, not a windfall. And that's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Buhari thought Nigerians' public office is a trust, not a windfall. All these are still under the Nation newspapers. Okay, we also have quite a number of them on the Nation newspaper, and we are going straight to another newspaper this very morning. And the newspaper will be the Punch newspaper. We have this one that says 16 Rivers lawmakers, including Speaker, defected from PDP to APC. Okay, there are so many stories, there are so many writers here on the Punch newspaper this very morning. Dangote importers locked in brutal price war. That's talking about petrol battlefield. Dangote importers locked in brutal price war. There's so many, riders on this very one. Of course, we have a very big advertorial, and that advertorial says a lot. We also have this one that says Buhari believed Aso Rock gossip. I planned killing him. This one is coming from Aisha Buhari, the wife of the former late president. Buhari believed Aso Rock gossip. I planned killing him. We're gonna know what that story implies. What is the meat of the matter? Where Aisha Buhari was saying that the husband at a point believed the Aso Rock gossip that she was planning to kill him. Okay, we also have another rider here that says Ngige EFCC clash over missing passport in London. It's still an ongoing battle between the former Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, and EFCC. But this one, they're clashing over missing passports in London. What happened to the passport? One would like to ask. The Punch newspaper and we head over to Vanguard newspaper this very morning. There are so many stories on the Vanguard newspaper. We begin this one that says year-end festivity push inflation to 4-month high. Year-end festivities push inflation to 4-month high. You would like to know why inflation? We are thinking you get to know more about the year-end festivities, why it's pushing inflation to 4-month high. Okay, we leave that very story. We also move on to the next one that says terrorism sponsor ex-governor Bafarawa Capex Bello Toji. Terrorism sponsor ex-governor Bafarawa Capex Bello Toji. Remember, the whole thing started when a peace mediator had accused Bello Toji of receiving over 30 million naira, and a lot of that happened. But Bello Toji said he never had up to 5 million in his account, and said about those governors, former governors, who laid the foundation for terrorism. And he mentioned Bafarawa, former governor of Sokoto State. And now Tahiru Bafarawa is responding to allegation made against him by Bello Toji. And now he says he has carpeted him, but then we'll get to know more about that very story. And then we leave that very one and move on to other ones. There's so many of these headlines. I remember reps went into Dangote NMDPRA disputes, summon politics. Remember the allegation Dangote made against the Director General of Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency, where he accused him of spending over $5 million on secondary school fees or secondary school tuition fees of his children somewhere in Switzerland. But guess what? Reps, House of Representatives, is now summoning the parties because it is a battle for price of petroleum products. Dangote has released the price template, but the agency is not taking it lightly from Dangote that he is not authorized to even do that. But we're going to know more about this. Still on Vanguard newspaper, emergency rule, president can suspend elected officials. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court actually said this? Or was that the statement of the Supreme Court? Many papers making same report. Did anybody bother to read the Supreme Court judgment? But we get to know more about these headlines flying on different national dailies. Supreme Court, according to the report we have on Vanguard, one of the writers there says a president can suspend elected officials according to Supreme Court. But we'll get to find out more about this very story. And there's so many to talk about. Tinubu, at book launch on Buhari, statements were made at the Aso Villa yesterday. That book revealed a lot about how many chapters, and then if you look at about 600 page, that's the size of the book, 600 pages, and then I think about 20 something chapters. I can't really recall, but I've not, looked at the book, but it was launched yesterday, and then stories about the former president we actually read out. From soldier to statesman. I think that's the title of the book. We leave Vanguard newspaper, move over to the Guardian. I think Guardian has a very big advertorial that occupied almost all the spaces. For you have just one big banner headline. Apart from that, you have a very big advertorial. But let's get to know the banner headline that we have on the Guardian newspaper. It says, Supreme Court's verdict on emergency rule unsettles polity, power structure. Supreme Court's verdict on emergency rule unsettles polity, power structure. That's the major headline story on the Guardian newspaper. We also have other ones there like inflation outperforms Tinubu's target is to 14.45%. Inflation outperforms Tinubu's target is to 14.45%. Okay, we also have another one here that says Tinubu laus Buhari's legacy. Virtues at biography launch. Tinubu laus Buhari's legacy. Virtues at biography launch. Another one there that says Senate plays multiple budget raises FIRX 2026 target to 35 trillion naira. Senate plays multiple projects, raises Federal Inland Revenue Service target, that's 2026 target, to 35 trillion naira. You would want to know why is Senate doing that. Okay. House summons Dangote and MDPR boss over renewed rift. That's another one there. House summons Dangote and MDPRA boss over rift. And then we also have other small ones. But just like I told you earlier on, the Guardian has a big advertorial that usually, I don't know whether it is usual one, but it occupies almost all the space. But we've given you the banner, headline story, and all the writers we have on the Guardian newspaper. At this point, I have to call on Franklin Ebuka to actually take charge, because we have to really begin the program as usual and look at some of these major headlines and tell you the whole story. The ones behind the scene, the one you may not even know, and the one people are not talking about. All right, let's quickly do that as Franklin takes charge.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki, delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ibuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha. I must thank Tony Olisa Mbeki for holding forth for us. Of course, I will also apologize to you for making it late to the studio due to circumstances beyond our control. And of course, you know that this is a period of festivity. Of course, the atmosphere is radiating that. Coming to Onitsha this very morning, it wasn't as it used to be. For me, it was quite hectic all the way from Seaman, that's Boromeo, down to DMJ's area here. It wasn't easy for Ezekiel if I enter New Testament. You get what I mean, okay? All right, so thank you for being there for us all the time. My name is Franklin, and we have to begin the conversation. Of course, Tony has read out the headlines we have on the front pages of the various newspapers this very morning. Of course, he has to offer the analysis. So we'll bring in Dr. Tony Mbeki from the analysis desk. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Ebuka Franklin. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, the Anambra. On December is really, really telling this morning. From the MJS roundabout down to the Boromeo, roundabout as well. Everywhere is actually glittering. That tells you that the Christmas festivity, the wave is everywhere. Good morning in Onitsha. Onitsha do is happening just as it's happening everywhere in Anambra State, even in Oka, down to Hiala, Epulobia, Newi is glittering everywhere. Good morning in Osumoho. Osumoho Molomo. You are welcome everywhere, and we can always not forget the God Almighty who has made everything possible in our time for us to witness this day, for us to see this very day, for us to see these developments and also to talk about them. It's not easy. We thank God for His mercy, for His protection, for everything He has been doing for us and He keeps doing. We thank everyone for being part of this very program. As usual, we're going to look at some of these developments and do justice to all of them. You are welcome.
Okay, so talking about the festivity, which is Christmas, around the corner, we're counting a couple of days now because today being the 16th of December, it's a matter of days for us to get to the D-Day. And all we have been preparing for a long time is going to be upon us. Yeah. And like I mentioned, that the atmosphere is already radiating that. The environment is showing that there's something around the corner. From the experience I had this very morning, and also what happened in Oka yesterday, which I'm still going to bring in for us to be abreast of development. And if you look at the headline, or one of the headlines on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this very morning, you can see that it's well captured, where it says year-end festivities push monthly inflation to 14-month high. If you look at the inflation rate, which was raised by the MBS yesterday, you will see that there was a drop in headline inflation, but on month-to-month basis, we recorded an increase in that inflation. So if we're going to go through the story says that food price increases driven by year-end festivities demand and the insecurity challenges emerge as the major driver of inflationary pressure in November 2025, pushing the month-on-month headline inflation rate to 1.22%, its highest level in 4 months, with analysts projecting a similar trend in December. Similarly, the month-on-month food inflation rate rose to 1.13%, the highest in 3 months since, driven by increase in the average prices of some food items. The story goes on to say that, however, the headline inflation rate declined for the 8th consecutive month to 14.45% from 16.05% in October. It was National Bureau of Statistics that disclosed this yesterday in its latest Consumer Price Index CPI report, which measures inflation. So, Tony, of course, going around the markets we have in this our locality and even beyond, especially in the southern part of Nigeria, you'll be able to connect to what this story is talking about, because we have seen sharp increases in the prices of food items in the market. And to shock you this very morning, normally, if you are going to commute from a Seaman or Savoy to main market, the fare used to be 500 naira. But this very morning, the fare is 800 naira. And I'm afraid that maybe by the time we inch closer to the Christmas day, it might increase. Then, if you're going to commute from Seaman to DMGS here, it's now 500 naira. It used to cost 300 naira. It varies depending on who you are working with. But you keep on wondering why Christmas festivity always drive this increment in prices of food items and likewise in transport fares. And sometimes each time we have this kind of experience, people will tell you that now we do ourselves. But people who on the other side will tell you that this is the law of demand and supply, that in economies, once the demand increases, or rather once the supply increases, demand is going to increase and is going to impact on the price.
I think the very cliche that once there is increase in demand, price usually increases. Is where, especially, that the product itself or the service rendered is really not commensurate to the demand. But when the service rendered or the products are commensurate to the demand, so there is nothing like any form of increment. Increment comes when there is shortage of either the service or the product as a result of increased demand. That is where the law you quoted comes in. But in this case, it does not come in here. But let's talk about these developments, because it's really affecting our mentality. It's a tradition for me. It is a habit. It has become a habit as against the laws of demand and supply and other economic theories and laws. It's not about them. It's about habit that we introduce, we inculcated. Most people see December as a month to make quick sales, sharp practices, cutting corners, doing a number of things just to make money to spend for the fun related aspect of the festivity. So people want to have money in their pocket, and the best way to have that money in their pocket is to arbitrary, the word there is arbitrary, increase the service they render, the price of the service, and at the same time the cost of the product. Nothing has changed when it comes to supply chain. Nothing has changed. Nothing. So it tells you a lot, because look at Dangote trying to bring down the petroleum price, and we've seen the petroleum price dropping. Why then do you have increase in transportation fare when petrol price is dropping? Does it make sense? That needs to tell you it is purely a case where we have indulged in this habit of trying to make more money for the season, or in the season as the period of making not just unmerited money, but very unfortunate one. But that's just that. You just say that from Seaman, according to let's call it around that Boromi Junction, if you're heading that the very road that takes you down to main market, from Oka Road Junction, if you're coming from Enugu Onitsha Expressway, from that very angle to possibly main market, you said it's usually how much?
It used to be between 400 and 500 naira, but it's now 800 naira.
That is twice the amount. Is that not madness? Now tell me what has changed. Nothing, because if you look around, yes, you have more people going to the market, there's no doubt, but you also have more tricycle buses on the same road rendering the service. Why then is the increment? It makes no sense. It defies any logic. It beggars Any known reason. But that's the truth. If you go to the market, they will tell you that salespeople, they have increased the price of their products, their commodities. So it is also our turn to do the increment, because if we return our own service charge or service fee, we may not be able to buy some of these products that these salespeople have on their own increased the price. So everybody's trying to meet up. It's a habit, and that is where government comes in. If government agencies responsible for this kind of anomaly, because for me it is anomaly, it is madness. You can't just have this kind of thing happen in China, where you know very well that demands are usually on the high side. It cannot happen in China. And there are places it cannot happen in UK. There are places it cannot happen. It's something government must come in to wage. That's why we have government. There is an agency of government that should see that people do not on their own. Anybody spotted, the shop will be closed. And then any service charge that because of December you have it increased, the person, if you are renting that service using any medium, it will be impounded. With these people, we know that December is not the period to arbitrarily increase service fee, service charge, or price of commodity for one thing or the other. Look at food items, as you mentioned. We knew very well that we just finished from harvest period. The harvest season is not even yet over. There are people that are still harvesting their cassava, harvesting some of the things they planted throughout the year, and the harvest season is still on. So why would these things be actually on the high side? And these are season where so many staples, they're pricey, or I think the season where they are in abundance. So that would also command the downward side of the price. But we are not seeing that, because the middlemen, those who are in the value chain, they do one thing in order to have more money in their pocket, to buy Christmas dress, to buy Christmas wears, to buy this for Christmas, to buy this for Christmas. Before some motor mechanics have also increased their service fee. If you go to Mbuka or Mbuko Bosi, in fact, if you go there, it's a case of Jesomera. Many people, it's a culture, it's a anomaly, it's a habit, and we must do something about it.
So is it a mindset thing, or this is not peculiar to Nigeria? Maybe somebody can tell you that if you go to some places outside the country, even in some European countries, that there is this very increment in prices of commodities, especially things that have to do with festivities, each time we begin to approach Christmas. So I will tell you that if you go to some climes, that as you're approaching Christmas season, that's when you begin to see some kind of sales promotion where people can buy at a reduced rate. So looking at this thing we have now, is it about our mindset, or it's not peculiar to Nigeria? It comes with season, irrespective of the climb.
I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset. If you review most countries, it might not really be the case. Look at the airlines. We are told the aviation sector, for you to commute from Abuja to Anambra State, you have to pay 500 and something naira for just one-way ticket. And not just business class or first class, economy class. It is outrageous. It is pure absurdity. And if you ask these most airline operators why such increment, they will tell you no reason. We are in the season. So the season means once we are in December, it means take the price up. But my concern is government needs to come in this climb. It's a mindset thing. Christmas, most places have been and places have watched the activities, is a time people make sales through promotions. They do bonanza. Buy 3, get 1 free, that kind of thing. And they try to give promotions, and they do Christmas promos. So, but they are, I don't know, for us in Muslim countries, I don't think it's just like that. But just like you said, most categories across most countries that celebrate it, Western influenced nations like those in Europe, North America, parts of Africa, they usually have this price increment. So I don't know, if you look at some groceries, staples like meat, poetry, chocolate. And even when the Muslim people, when they celebrated their Salah, the price of a ram went up. If you look at toys, electronics, artificial trees, and so many of these things, and even general holiday cost is, though a global pattern, it's just a global pattern in some, to an extent, but not something experienced everywhere. There are places, government do come in to ensure that this absurdity do not get out of hand, and that's what we're calling on Nigerian government at different levels, both the state and the local government, to weigh in, because it is, for me, it's not universal across different countries, but in some places where this is more like a cultural thing, it means higher prices, which is not good for our people.
Okay, so not good for people because, like you highlighted, if you go to some countries in the in Western Europe, of course, you're going to see that yes, there is usually increment in the price of some commodity, but it's not sector-wide increment. Those sectors that have to do with the season, you can see increment. Let's say people who buy Christmas card, for instance, you could see slight increment in the price. But when you compare it with what we have in the country, you see that our own becomes unreasonable, where you can see like 100% increment in what the price used to be, and everywhere becomes chaotic. Like the environment, I saw this very morning. Just imagine when you get to that very Seaman Expressway. Normally, once you get there, traffic light there might delay for like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. But this very morning, it was way beyond that. Everywhere was chaotic because people are trying to do turns, meet up. Those who want to go to the market, buy this or that, because we are in the festive period. And that question of, okay, why do we even leave things at 11th hour and begin to make rushes, whereas we can plan for these things earlier on and will not be caught up in this mad rush every year, every time. We have to leave it here at this time. Let's go for commercial break. After the break, we have to look into political matters. But don't forget that we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get on that very page, share the video, and drop your comment. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are. Golden Promise Fiesta 1.0 2025. Be there at the biggest fiesta of the year. Join us live at Sonia Hotel, Sawite, 153B Eziweka Road, Awado Busi, Onitsha, on the 20th of December 2025 by 5 p.m. till dawn. It'll be a night of unforgettable entertainment, comedy, dance, and thrilling musical performances from Annie Dons, Professor Chikobi, Sawan-on-One Women Leader, Twin Parrots, Abuchi Obusi, and many more. Tickets are available now now. Regular 2,000 naira. VIP 10,000 naira. VVIP table of 5 persons 500,000 naira. Get yours at number 1 Ngozi Obago Plaza, 20 Enugu Road, Onitsha, or number 1 Pampam Lane Suite, P25, 2nd floor, Merito Plaza, Main Market, Onitsha. Before the tickets sell out, contact us on the following numbers: 0814 394 2802 or 0808 441 5156. Golden Promise Fiesta 2025, proudly powered by Golden Promise Entertainment, sponsored by Melvin Table Water and Callisto's International Limited. Don't just hear about it, be there.
Your investment is just one drop. On its own, it can only do so much. Now, imagine a million more drops. This is the power of First Asset Money Market Fund and First Asset Dollar Fund. They pool your money with others to create a powerful flow, giving you access to great earning opportunities. Call 0201-889-4444 now to start with 5,000 naira, $100 or more. Let us build wealth together. The First Asset Money Market Fund and First Asset Dollar Fund are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, Nigeria. Please read the prospectus and where in doubt, consult your investment advisor, stockbroker, fund or portfolio manager, accountant, banker, solicitor, or any other professional advisor for guidance before subscribing.
Merry Christmas from all of us.
Udala Radio
104.7.
Now hear the Christmas Day sweet past. Let's go. Bells they ring for the street tonight. Children they dance under Christmas light. Mama they cook jollof, aroma they rise. Now for they smile, joyfully miles. No they for body love they warm. Afro be breathing, happiness don't come. Oh, from Onitsha city to every home. Now celebrate chant food is on. It's a Udala Christmas. Oh, oh. Everybody gather make we jollof. Up the tree, let it shine, let it shine. Love for the season, make we share, make we bind. From morning to night, Udala hold you tight. Now Christmas magic, pure delight. Udala, Udala, Christmas day sweet, oh Udala, Udala, feel the beat, oh. From all of us at Udala Radio.
Merry Christmas, ya wetalanye angole no bioto. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from all of us at Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region.
Please listen to this important information on your good health. Do you know that many deaths nowadays are caused by ignorance on drug abuse? Do you know that many males and females now resort to the consumption of unhygienic concoctions for the treatment of various diseases? Do you know that some even take their lab results to traditional healers for interpretation? Now listen, abuse of scientific or traditional drug destroys the body system mechanism and it kills. Consumption of expired, adulterated, substandard and unpasteurized traditional herbal mixture could lead to health complications. So detoxification of the body and restoration of the functional organs is always necessary for your good health.
This message is sponsored by Anti-Drug Abuse Incorporated Headquarters, Annex Sunshine Hospital, number 4 Obanye Street, Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria. 08033206819.
Drug abuse is an enemy to your good health. Be warned.
Join Anti-Drug Abuse Health Education every Wednesday by 8:45 a.m. on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, Onitsha.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity this Tuesday morning, the 16th of December 2025. And we are bringing you analysis from the various topical developments we have on various newspapers. We have read out the headlines for you this very morning. My name is Franklin Lebekanda. I still have Dr. Olisa Mbeki on the analysis desk. Now, moving away from the issues associated with the Christmas period, where we have seen increment in the prices of different commodities, likewise in transport fare. Let's not talk about politics. What happened yesterday? We know that after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, that some governors, came together and filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the power of Mr. President to declare state of emergency in Rivers State, and also suspension of Fubara and others. And yesterday, Supreme Court delivered a judgment. And from what has been interpreted in the media has reported that Supreme Court has upheld the power of the president to declare a state of emergency in any state to prevent a breakdown of law and order or degeneration into a state of chaos or anarchy. It was a split decision of 6-1. In that very decision, the apex court held that the president, during a state of emergency, can suspend elected officials, but that such suspension of elected officials must be within a limited period. In the lead judgment, Justice Muhammad Idris held that Section 303, or rather 305 of the 1999 Constitution, empowers the president to deploy extraordinary measures to restore normalcy where emergency rule is declared. Idris noted that Section 305 was not specific on the nature of the extraordinary measures, thereby granting the president the discretion on how to go about it. But I must say that we have seen varied reactions showing that PDP has reacted, saying that in as much as it acknowledges that the Supreme Court is the final boss when it comes to litigation, but what the Supreme Court did, it could set a wrong precedent. And we also heard from different lawyers. Take, for instance, from Femi Falana, who has said that what the media reported was a misrepresentation or interpretation of what the Supreme Court judgment stands for. Likewise, Barrister Effiong Inibehe has also said so. But some of us are also on the other side saying that the Supreme Court was explicit on the powers of Mr. President to declare state of emergency in any state and also suspend any elected official as he might deem fit. Certainly, now we have a varied reaction trading the Supreme Court verdict. And this varied reaction is not coming from the point of maybe is my party benefited or not, but from the point of law. People are saying that what was reported in the media was a misinterpretation. What are you thinking?
I think it's a problem we have in our media space, where one media house make a report, others do copy it. They just add one or two things. So what we have in our media space is usually copy. Once a media house strikes something, the next media houses follow suit without cross-checking, trying to establish their own fact by themselves, and also doing the necessary appraisal in line with journalism principles and theories. But that's a problem, and it's something we must correct. But going by the Supreme Court judgment, I've not been able to cite the judgment because according to Inebe Effiong, he said he read the 14 pages summary of the very judgment, and it's totally against what the media houses actually reported. But the takeaways, let's look at the takeaways from that Supreme Court judgment. One is the fact that it struck out the suit brought by about 10 states of PDP previously, because most of these states are defected to APC. So the attorney generals of these states were those that brought this action before the Supreme Court against the president. But they framed it as a dispute, because for them, they need to know the interpretation of the law as far as Section 305 is concerned. But according to the Supreme Court says that they have not been able to establish a kind of a reasonable course of action to invoke its original jurisdiction on the matter. But looking at it, you find out that how are you affected as a state by bringing up this matter? The emergency rule in Rivers State, the states that brought this matter, how were they going to be affected by such emergency rule? So Supreme Court was looking at the technicality. And that's the problem. When Obasanjo did the same thing in 2006, and also that was for Plateau State, technicality was brought in. Because it was a case where the Attorney General of the Plateau State, they sacked, the Plateau State, or the suspended Plateau State government, his Attorney General came forward with it. The argument was you couldn't have brought it because the military government has somebody who is in there, and that person's consent was not even taken. The office of the Attorney General of the state under the military government, his consent was not taken. So how did the consent, or you as suspended Attorney General or suspended government, how could you have brought such matter before the Supreme Court? So it was technicality again. I think most times Supreme Court should save the democracy. So that matters, you leave the technicality. Because these things are matters of law, at least to save democracy. Exactly what he did yesterday. That the 10 states that brought this matter before the Supreme Court have not been able to establish truly that they were in dispute with the federal government. What was the dispute? That the River State affected was not part of the suit. River State that ordinarily should have the local standard, they did not participate in the suit. So those of you that came, in what area were you affected? You cannot cry more than the bereaved. That's what the Supreme Court was trying to say yesterday. But it struck out the matter. But then on the issues made, and then there was this statement that he said that Mr. President has the powers as provided under Section 305 to impose emergency rule. And let me state for record purpose that Section 305. And then he went on to say that section gives Mr. President extraordinary power to take extraordinary measures, as the case may be. So in doing that, probably we have to read it. And I will come back to interpretation of the Supreme Court ruling, because I said I've not been able to read the judgment. And for not having read the judgment, I wouldn't align myself with what was reported on national dailies. I will not. But I will state my own thoughts, or my own, thought about the whole thing. So, and that will be it. My concern is, I'm just trying to find the very section, and I'll read it. Just how we have looking at the takeaways from yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, and probably read the Constitution the way it's provided, and the statements that we are reported that the Supreme Court made, and the thoughts I have for those statements. That's what I want to do right now. So going by that, you find out that Section 305 talks about the declaration of state of emergency, and the Supreme Court also pointed out that even the Senate and the House of Representatives, that for them to affirm the state of emergency cannot be true by voice votes. That there will be a clear voting system where every member in the case of the House, or every senator in the case of the Senate, makes a decision on that, and it will be well tallied. So Supreme Court, if that statement as mentioned by Barrister Effiong, it means that Supreme Court did not even endorse the state of emergency, because you can't use voice or voice vote to endorse state of emergency. And many people criticize the Senate and the House of Representatives for engaging in such frivolity. Because if you look at the Constitution, it's very simple on that very issue. So, in that way, many interpretations have come to be as far as that is concerned. And another takeaway, if that is correct, where it was actually stated that the Supreme Court says Mr. President can suspend the governor elected officials, that was not the exact statement of the Supreme Court. There was no way in that judgment Supreme Court did say that the president can suspend the elected officials. I think what the Supreme Court was trying to say was that the Mr. President can take any measure, because state of emergency can be brought upon when there is imminent threat, danger, or breakdown of law and order, and we all agree that none of these things happened in River State. So it's another way of not endorsing what Mr. President did. There was no threat, there was no imminent danger, there was no breakdown of law and order. These things never happened. But we saw Mr. President bringing state of emergency because of political rift between Wike and Fubara. But outside that, because the Supreme Court was not specific, it was our own interpretation. And they were just trying to say that Mr. President can take extraordinary measures and that his constitution did not provide the exact nature of that extraordinary measure. So what that means that Mr. President can take any measure, but the Supreme Court did not add to suspend elected officials. No, it was what the national dailies and their interpreters and their reporters, what they also embedded to be the understanding of taking any measure. But we know in the Constitution, just like I have always said, the process, Constitution has only stated the ways where a governor can be removed. If you go by the provisions of our law, the Constitution says under section 188, and in fact, if you go by provisions of section 191, a governor can be removed by death, which creates a vacancy automatically under section 191. Under section 188 of the Constitution, a governor can be removed through impeachment. Then if you go by the provisions of section 306, a governor can be removed by resignation if he voluntarily submits a written resignation to the Speaker of the State House of Assembly as provided under section 306 subsection 5. These are ways, three of them: impeachment, resignation, or death. Or if there's also a part where the Constitution provides that when the governor is incapacitated to run the office of governor, and where a medical report and some of these things have been ascertained. So if Constitution has given us three key ways a governor can be removed, suspension, some may argue, is not removal. Some may argue that suspending somebody is not as the same as removing the person. But when you suspend somebody, you have stopped the person from working.
Because we're trying to wonder how this thing aligns with the principles of federalism that we have in Nigeria. And in federalism, we know that the federal government has its own area of jurisdiction, likewise the state. And we're just wondering if we're going to look at some other federalism where we borrowed our own, can the president in any way remove the governor of a state? Let's use US for instance. If anything happens in any state, if Donald Trump can invoke any power to suspend the governor of any state in any given condition, because from what we have seen so far, like we said, that what the media reported is that Supreme Court, upheld the powers of Mr. President to declare state of emergency and at the same time go ahead to remove any elected officer as he may deem fit. This is what the media reported, but the likes of Femi Falana and FM Onitsha, they are saying different things. Now, let me just read an extract from what Femi Falana wrote yesterday in response to this. He said that the Apex Court judgment delivered on December 15, 2025 in Attorney General of Adamawa State versus 19 others versus Attorney General of the Federation was being misinterpreted. He explained that although the Supreme Court dismissed the suit for want of jurisdiction, it still went ahead to consider the substance of the case. According to Falano, the court did not approve any presidential power to dissolve or suspend state executive and legislative institutions during a declaration of emergency. He said the leading judgment delivered by Justice Mohammed Baba Idris made it clear that Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution does not confer such powers on the president. Now, let's quote something for what he said. He said, in his judgment delivered, the Supreme Court dismissed the case for want of jurisdiction on the ground that the plaintiffs lack jurisdiction to maintain the action. However, the apex court decided to consider the merit of the substantive case. Curiously, the judgment has been wrongly interpreted by the media. Contrary to the misleading report, the Supreme Court did not endorse the dissolution of the democratic structures during emergency rule in any state of the federation. And this brings me to where the question of misinterpretation is coming from. Does it mean that what was reported in the media was planted by fifth columnists or people who are sympathetic to the president, given the fact that maybe if the report had come the right way around, it could have been a question on the powers and what the president did in River State?
I think, just like we have said and established, media reported what was not said by the Mr. President or the Supreme Court, and have always stated the area of that confusion, the area where the Supreme Court was trying to affirm the powers of Mr. President under Section 305 to declare the state of emergency. But the Supreme Court also listed what should be present in that state. You ask, was those things present in River State? The answer is no. Then the Supreme Court also went on to say, if Mr. President declares state of emergency, the National Assembly look at what they are expected to do. They were expected to affirm that state of emergency within the period by voting, not by voice vote. The Supreme Court also, it was more like a lecture. Supreme Court was trying to lecture both authorities on what that section means, even though that is dismissed because it's not contained in a roll order. They went on to lecture us. What those statements they made were just academic in nature. Not
okay, Tony, let's dig deeper because it appears as if becoming worrisome that recent court judgments coming from Supreme Court have been subject to different interpretations. One judgment, varied interpretations. Take for instance the judgment the judgment in the case between Abure and Labour Party. We know how Abure is saying this is what the Supreme Court said, and the other faction is saying this is what the Supreme Court said. I mean, one judgment, different interpretations, and nobody has even cared to get something clear about it. They look at the PDP case too. It appears we're also having the same thing. And the question is, why are Supreme Court judgments these days prone to varied interpretations? Why this unclarity in what the court stands for? And sometimes when you look at this very judgment, whenever the issue in question is about politics, it appears Supreme Court is not always direct and clear in its judgment.
I'll come back to that. Remember, you asked me a question about United States of America, and then let me quickly answer that, then come back to this very question. United States of America cannot, the president of United States cannot remove any governor. They have 50 states. None of these can be removed by the president, and the president cannot also declare emergency in any state in United States of America. That's second. But when there is insurrection, the president may deploy federal troops or federalize the National Guard without a governor's consent if the state authorities are unable or unwilling to protect constitutional rights or maintain public order. Even at this point, the president cannot suspend the governor or the state legislature. That's the United States of America. They have the Insurrection Act, and it tells you how the president can deploy federal troops or federalize the National Guards to quell such insurrection, where the state agencies cannot or unwilling to take charge of the situation. That's for United States of America. So if you look at under Article 1, Section 8 and federal statutes, the president may federalize the National Guard. So that answers your question. Let's come back to Nigeria. Different interpretations given by the Supreme Court judgment. Most times these judgments are voluminous. There are many. Sometimes the judgment will be 600 pages. Sometimes judgment may be 1,000 pages. For somebody to sit down to look at the theories espoused by judges, they talk in parables, they talk in theories. And in all of this, every concerned person should weigh them at the end in the enrollment order. That's what I have always observed. Most times when judges are writing their judgments, they engage so much in making some passive statements. And these passive statements are taken as actionable statements. I don't know if you understand me. There is a difference between passive statements and actionable statements. Actionable statements are contained in the enrollment order. But the passive statement can be in any part of the judgment, dictum obitum or dictum obiter. That statement made in passing. Just trying to look at the propriety. A judge may convict a criminal, but even before convicting that criminal, may start by saying that that criminal is a hardened one, somebody who is merciless, somebody who is this, who is that. These statements were part of statements leading to whatever that could be contained in the enrollment order. But in all of this, you just mentioned two. I can even tell you more. You talked about Abure, you talked about PDP and Wike. You also have to talk about the Osun State local government, the funds that were withdrawn. In the last Supreme Court judgment on that, the two parties gave different interpretation. So it can go on.
So is it a function of, parties in the suit trying to interpret judgment in the way it's going to favor them, or is it a function of unclarity of the judgments that Supreme Court delivered?
Sometimes it's a function of unclarity. It's a function for me of unclarity, because when Supreme Court in the case of Abure says that the issue of nomination and the issue of membership, leadership of a party is internal affairs of the party that no court has jurisdiction over it. Now the question is, who now is the leader of the party? Who now is the national chairman of the party? Because that, for the parties in that dispute, we are not addressed. But the Supreme Court, in making a passive statement saying somebody whose tenure had expired couldn't have hold forth to this, those statements were passive. And if you take on this passive statement, you cannot use it as an actionable statement. If you look at the enrollment order, that's the things the Supreme Court concluded with, that it is an internal affairs. Now the question is, who is the right leader or national chairman? So it is a case of unclarity, not being able to spell out things. But that's one. And then coming back to this issue as we discussed, for me, when Supreme Court made mention that states who have brought this thing, they did not disclose how they are going or how they are affected by the emergency in River State, and how they frame it to be a dispute, for them to invoke that power provided in section 232 of the Constitution. For me, if you look at the issue of currency, remember when under President Buhari, currency was redesigned with immediate termination of the existing old currency. Some states challenged the CBN, went to court over it, but they argued that it had affected the functions of their government. That is the area they are affected. Those currency redesigned, and then the old currency leading to the scarcity of currency that is affected the running of government. But even when we knew that CBN was involved, CBN is not a state. We had thought that the case would have started at the Federal High Court, where the governors will sue CBN. But the governors did not sue CBN, they sued the federal government, as if federal government was the one in charge, when we knew that CBN is an independent body. But when we thought that Supreme Court wouldn't have entertained the matter, they entertained it. And for the Supreme Court, there was a dispute between federal government and the state. What was the nature of the dispute? Currency design. Who did it? Was it the federal government? It was something that CBN did. Many of us faulted Supreme Court on that. But that's by the way. Then on the issue of Osun State, you say that the issue brought by those involved, that the governor cannot bring it the issue because the state, the local government affected ought to have brought it. We know that local governments cannot invoke or activate the provisions of section 322, because if local government wants to sue the federal government, it will go down to the Federal High Court to do that. It cannot go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says that Osun State, local governments. The state cannot act in place of local government by bringing the matter before the Supreme Court to invoke or to activate section 322. So many of us said, if that be the case, now we have another one. We have all observed one thing. Matters between anybody and the federal government, Supreme Court, there is a way it looks at it.
What does that suggest? Does that suggest that Supreme Court is under the influence of whatever you might think?
For me, Supreme Court has not risen beyond expectations. I can let you know, but if you look at that judgment, it was a split 6-1. So what it means that Supreme Court convoked a panel made up of its highest number, because Supreme Court can have 5, can also have 7. 7 is the maximum members of the panel, and then 5 could be the minimum. But in this case, but we look at most of these justices, for instance, because I looked at these justices, I looked at how they mentioned some of these things, because the lead judge comes from, of course, we know the Justice Muhammad Baba Idris. He was one that read these judgments, and then many people have also known him very well. But I don't want to talk about these justices. Let's forget about them. But for me, I know where they actually, coming from. But there's the only dissenting judgment comes from one of the justices. I think from Justice. I'm just trying to remember the name of the justice that gave.
Justice Obande Obinya.
Festus Obande Obinya. I think Festus Obande Obinya from Ebonyi State. He was the one that gave the dissenting, judgment. And then we have the rest concurring. All of them. Choma, CM, Sanami Simon, then Stephen Jonah Ada and Habiba Dewale Abiru. Many of them, they all concord. Even Inyang Okoro, they all concord. So in their lead judgment. But the issue is interpretation. So everybody is expected to go and read the judgment. But in that judgment, the Supreme Court, for me, did not say that the president has power to dissolve or to remove. No, that was not what contained in that judgment. They were just lecturing Nigerians on the provisions of 305, what should be present before emergency declaration, when emergency is declared, what the National Assembly is also expected. But they went on to say that the Constitution did not in any way state the extraordinary measures as it espoused, but Supreme Court ought to interpret the minds of the framers of the Constitution. They had never thought that the extraordinary measures could be suspended. No, the framers never had thought about it, because they have stated how a governor can be removed from office, even when we know that removal is not suspension, but pausing or halting somebody's function, we know could also affect the function. They never had thought that a governor could be suspended. The framers of the Constitution never had thought about it. So that extraordinary measure did not also encapsulate the issue of suspension. So Supreme Court ought to have made that point very clear.
Okay, so we have to leave it at this point and go for this very commercial break. After it, we have to open the phone lines to entertain your calls. If you have time, we can squeeze in on that conversation, because a whole lot is contained in papers today. Of course, Chris engaged in the news because yesterday the court refused to grant him bail. And if you look at how the court process went yesterday, his defense counsel were asking for bail, but the other side, prosecuting counsel, was saying that he's a flight risk. That when he traveled to London, he didn't bring back the passport, so there's no need to grant him bail. So until Thursday, that case is going to come up again for hearing, and let's see whether he's going to secure his bail or not. Then look at former AGF. Malami, who is crying foul, saying that EFCC is on a vendetta, and people are saying how the table turns. A few years ago, you were calling the shot and you locked up your ears to any sane comment being made, and today you're on the same table and you are saying that EFCC is on a vendetta against it, because when the current EFCC chairman was still a junior staff, that he had a case that he took charge over.
Frankly, let me help you. Are you aware that Olukoyede was the chief of staff to Ibrahim Mago, that Malami showed Shege? Ibrahim Mago, Olukoyede, the current EFCC chairman, was his chief of staff. You suspended his boss. And are you also aware that afterwards, Olukoyede was made the secretary of EFCC?
Yes.
That he was one of those suspended by the broader Mago probe. He was suspended indefinitely by Malami over the Ayo Salami panel. And now the issue is, how did you make money to build Ryan Hotels in Birinkebi? It's a luxurious hotel. How did you make money to build a big university as a public office holder? What was your salary? What was your remuneration? What was your entitlement that will enable you? Because Malami is the owner of Ryan Group. Ryan Group is a conglomerate. They are into a lot of things. If you look at that hotel at Birin Kebi, his hotel, if you look at his institution, I'm just trying to remember the name of the institution, but it's under the Ryan conglomerate. If you look at other properties acquired, how come under 8 years as the Attorney General of the Federation, you were building some of these institutions, massive investments? Okay. How did you make the money?
You see, these questions keep on asking about, how some of these public office holders were able to amass money that you see them spending on different kind of property, just like Dangote did on Sunday, where he took to cleaners. The CEO of NNDPRA, where he talked about the amount of money he paid for tuition, for his children in Switzerland. In fact, yesterday he went further to give the breakdown of what these guys.
I'm not in support of the House of Representatives summoning both of them, because they will ask him to put down the microphone. That's what they're going to tell him. Please drop the microphone. Dangote, I will support him very well, because a lot is being revealed.
No, because this issue of public office holders, living larger than what they earn, and they keep on asking, where is the money coming from? Let's go for this very commercial break.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, I'll pack it on the yellow. Wendy's bread, mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread, kitchen and Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Anambra, the rhythm returns home. This December 28th, Oka will breathe in rhythm and shine in gold. Lagos Jump Off 3.0, the homecoming edition, featuring Annie Dons Onyechaka, Ilblaze Jarek, Mr. Raw, Slow Dog, Charles Okocha, BB Ninja, Ivata, Diamond Okechi, Eaglet Davidson, Casey Kubana, MC Monica, Aboifi I Go Talk, Slim Sherry, Waga, Ejai Kwamba, Go2 Onitsha, Hype Man Extraordinary, Harry B, Hype AO Machine, DJ Fresh Omen, DJ Alonso, DJ Spin Daddy, DJ Factor, DJ Fabuloso, VVIP table 3 million naira, VIP table 2 million naira, regular table 1 million naira, cocktail table 300,000 naira, standalone or walking guest 150,000 naira. For reservation and inquiries, do call 0913-484-4336 or +1970-258-0990. Lagos Jump Off 3.0, the homecoming, December 28th, Anambra State. This event is proudly packaged by CNN Entertainment. Be there.
When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203. With Best Aluminium, you're investing in peace of mind, in beauty, and in the future of your home. Because when it comes to roofing, the best choice is always Best Aluminium MFG Limited. Tomorrow's technology today.
Ụbọchị dum jupụtara n'ọtụtụ ihe omume mana ego gị nọ nkịtị ebe ọ dị. Ọ bụrụkwanụ na nrụsi ọrụ ike dịka ị na-eme, kwụsịlata n'oge a mee ka ego gị rọrụ gị ọrụ. Sonye n'amụma First Asset Money Market Fund na First Asset Dollar Fund ma nweghachita ihe dị mma. Jiri naanị $5,000 $100 wee malite. Ngwa kpọọ akara 0806 494 5838 ka ị malite ịmụba ego gị. Ka anyị gbakọ akụrụba anyị ọnụ. Edebanyere aha First Asset Money Market Fund na First Asset Dollar Fund n'akwụkwọ ụlọ ọrụ Securities and Exchange Commission Nigeria. Biko gụọ akwụkwọ mgbazi oluso ya ma ebe ọbụla ị na-enwe obi abụọ. Kpọtụrụ onye investment advisor, stockbroker, fund maọbụ portfolio manager, accountant, banker, solicitor maọbụ onye ọzọ ma ihe a na-akọ ka o duzie gị tupu ịmalite.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Of course, the time is actually ticking against us, but we have to open the phone lines for us to accommodate to your calls. My name is Franklin Ebeka, and this is Polity. I'm with Olisa Mbeki. A lot on the pages of newspaper this very morning, but I got WA here so that we'll be able to entertain your calls. 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. 0803-827-6694. Just call in. I take 1 minute and make your submission. Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, your name?
Good morning, my chief speaker, Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
The voice of Honorable the Mayor, Umejepi, Okunola, Otendo, Seleke, Auda. Can I go on?
Yes, go on.
I have said it before. Our Supreme Court, our court, I can't understand this, the kind of technicalities, because when they want to do this the other way, they will tell you technicality. What kind of technicality in Constitution that we make them to be supporting evil or what is not good? Yes, I don't know the reason why that yesterday they keep on supporting what the president did. Keep on supporting what the president did. I think the judge quote section 305. I think because I read it, quoting section 305 and supporting what is not supposed to be supported. I don't know how can president remove elected, demanded of people where there is no war, where there is no problem or violence. You just because of political selfishness do what you want to do. Anyway, the only thing I am saying on this is that we, the people, are supposed to stand against all these atrocities.
All right.
But I will call it atrocity that is being committed by our Supreme Court. Many cases.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Please take note of your 1 minute. Make your submission within that very 1 minute so that you'll be able to manage this very time. Good morning. Okay. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Welcome on board.
Good morning to you.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
I noticed that system is not available. Well, the first of my education is account.
Go on, Mary Kay.
Well, our Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, you said that they are saying all those things under advisory notes. If they are saying that under advisory notes, why didn't they say clearly what happened in River State? Or are they not Nigerians? Are they not aware what happened in River State? There is no how anybody will try to exonerate them from this. They intentionally did this. They always like to left Nigeria in confusion. Because you cannot tell me that they are advising us when you know exactly what happened in River State. Why don't they start from that? Yes. Tell us what happened in River State. If you are trying to clarify the constitution for us, yes, what Mr. President did in River State, is it right? Not trying to, as in, you don't want to offend Mr. President, trying to, educating us Nigerians what constitution. We know. That is why it is brought on your table to clarify what happened in River State. So that if you don't repeat it again, don't pretend that you don't know what happened in River State. Please, they are confusionists, Supreme Court. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. That was Matter K with his input. Good morning. Okay, 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You can as well drop your comment on our Facebook page. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Franklin, my friend.
Yes, good morning.
My lady there. Hello. Oh, Girigara.
You're welcome.
Good morning. This morning you said something that's on. Oh, that is my name. You talked about media space. One of the reasons for the abysmal failure of this present administration is the media space that is badly jaundiced and badly utilized. What has happened, every politician, almost all of them, own a media outfit. So what do you expect them to do? You sing praises of your boss, yeah? And that is why we are where we are. Look at it this way. You got the media, they are tied to all these people, politicians and what. Then you got the judiciary. That's the April spring of the executive. How can a government succeed like that? INEC is here, tied to the executive. None of them is completely independent, these three. Not one. How can we progress? How can we do good? We got to go back when the judiciary, maybe they should recall their sanity, maybe, and some of them will come up and begin to do it right. Maybe the INEC man, the way he talks so saintly, can come up and begin to behave like a saint, so there is something wrong somewhere. Let's go around it again. Okay, I just saying we've got it wrong.
All right, thank you.
May God we have Nigeria.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Let's see who we have next here. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Franklin Lebuka.
Good morning. Your name?
The Honorable Dr. Olisa Mbeki. Good morning, sir.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Obike from Obosi. I proceed. I just want to advise Mr. President down to the level of the person that rules Nigeria. Since yesterday, I was asking myself some deep questions. When I encounter one man, Prophet Dan Badidele from a state, what the man said, I was shocked. And I said to Mr. President to do the needful. He told the man that if care is not taken, he will go down to his state and be there watching what is happening in Africa. Now, see, you sit on top of 320 million people and you are suffering them. If they call you for court, you know that here. Anywhere they call you, stand strong, a strong man in Nigeria, suffering the poor masses. What I want to say now is that enough is enough in this country. God bless us with a lot of mineral big resources. For all of us, as a citizen of this country, every month you enter your local government, they give you money. There's a lot of cartel and cabal. They are stand strong. It's stopping the masses here. Suffering us every day by day without anything doing to them. I know at times of action. Is there no any politician that will stand strong, that say the truth for what APC is doing us in this country? Few of them, they are moving down APC. I'm laughing at them.
All right. Thank you.
That time is coming.
Thank you.
There's no problem.
Okay, thank you. Let me put all these very questions. Maybe if we have time, you get to answer it because Odaze talked about the media. So would it be possible that what happened was an honest mistake based on the fact that the judgment was not too clear enough and the error of interpretation came in, or maybe there was a fifth colony somewhere who put out the first story and others jumped on it? The second one is this. What Supreme Court did on the issue of jurisdiction, questioning the jurisdiction or local standing of those states that brought the case with River State, whether Supreme Court did anything wrong in questioning that. Let's take this very call. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't remember, right?
Yes.
Okay, go on, sir.
I'm calling from.
Go on, we can hear you.
I want to react on the Supreme Court party today. I think what years of legislature and the executive.
Akamed, are you still there? Okay, Akamed, I think you have to cover because we could hardly hear you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, your name?
Good morning, I speak Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
This is the voice of Honorable Iglesias Okoye from our Racing Kingdom.
Go on, sir, you have 1 minute.
My speaker, in fact, the judgment of Supreme Court are not helping matters. I'm telling you my heart. These are people, the government they gave concerning Labour Party, PDP party. They have to call it spade. They are punished in giving that judgment. That's helping the ruling party. When Apuga was in problem, they got a spade in Apuga. And this came into Apuga. They're free in Apuga. But this time, they are not giving judgment that has favor the present government. You see what is this judgment they give now? He will make the president do whatever he wants. He can dethrone every state when he wants to dethrone. See what happened in the River State? I heard what governor told the administrator of Lagos State that you don't do anything, only pay salary. But that man went there, started changing things, changing national election. 3 minutes made it to favor APC. Our record is killing our democracy. I'm telling honestly truth by the kind of judgment I give it. Let them call it spade. This are court works. Thank you. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you for joining. So let's quickly go to our Facebook page and acknowledge some of these very posts. Mazinwore Chikwadron Osinachi says, Tony, I thought the state emergency is not central government issue, rather it's a state affairs. He posted from that Onitsha. Godswill Okoye says the increases in the prices of commodities during Christmas season is always caused by we the Igbos. We don't help ourselves to decrease hardship in Igbo land. It's only December period that motorists increase transport fare. I was surprised when I heard the cost of rice has reduced. And he said, may Elohim help us to come out victorious. Okay. And Freddie Greatness says that it's been alleged that Nigerian judiciary has been ranked at the worst judiciary. And he said he can't agree less. Then Udala Aloysius says, I think our judiciary is now the weapon against our democracy, going by the rate of inconsistencies in the judgment it gives. Please, when Mr. President suspended the River State governor, there was no war. It was a case of political battle between political father and son. So what it means now is that any state with political battle, the president has been given power to suspend all the elected officials. This section 305 needs more explanation. Secondly, if Mr. President has the power to suspend the elected governor, why did the same court rule that governors have no powers to suspend elected local government chairmen? This rate of inconsistencies is a setback to democracy in Nigeria, but once the interest of president is involved, judgment can go yes side. And he posted from Umar Nam. Okay, thank you for watching. Also, Francis Omagan Namani, watching from Amagons in Enugu State, says our leaders should always embrace good governance and democratic discipline for the overwhelming interests of Nigerians. Ugochukwu Frank says, you mean the Supreme Court controlled by President Tinubu is just delivering a judgment after the whole state of emergency had elapsed and normalcy returned to the state? Okay, thank you for your comments. Arinze Ijimwe from a bar and fan settlement says, the present government is do as I said or I will remove you from office. So all the governors are afraid of being removed. That is why they are running and jumping into APC. Dr. Mrs. Molebera from Ore says, a country that encourages legality needs sympathy and attention. A lot of unacceptable things keep going on in this country. Silence or neutrality in the face of evil is treasonable. Any good person who sees evil fails to speak out, rather praises and encourages evil acts, will receive more punishment from God than the doer of the evil. We endure a lot of immoral acts. Our problems are critical and require urgent and drastic solution. Okoya Ngoreka, I thank you for watching. So, Tony, we have to wrap up this very conversation. We raised a couple of questions and other issues we didn't attend to. But let's see how we get to wrap up.
On your mandate, we shall stand.
Is it with you
on
too?
Your mandate, we shall stand. On your mandate, on your mandate, on your mandate, we shall stand. When the judges were singing that, what do you expect going to Supreme Court? Most times we see things the way they are, and we question why are they not the way they are not. The judges, the other time they were accused, they allegedly sang on your mandate, and we've seen what that resulted. And not just that, when Mr. President increased their emolument, it was one of the first things Mr. President did. Their salaries, raise it. And we were so much concerned about the raising of the salaries of the judges. We are asking, there are other areas, other sectors in the civil service, but we saw how judges' salaries, their remuneration, their allowances, their benefit, because they say that has not been done in many years. It is only President Tinubu that remembered judges after a long period of time. Their quarters, weekend standards up. Mr. President also launched building of judges' quarter. These things are clear. Then why are we complaining? You see why if you go to the Supreme Court to challenge Mr. President, you may be wasting your time. Because on your mandate, we shall stand. But it is not good for our democracy. Democracy is really struggling because in the United States of America, it said their judiciary saved their democracy, and they made a lot of laws that would make any judge not to be witch hunted by the president of that very country. They know very well that the president does not have that overreaching powers over any judge. That's why most of them that still have conscience can do what they are doing. There are good judges, there's no doubt. They are still there, but are they protected? How are they protected? Some of the questions people raise there, of course, their concerns, I share them. My own is that yesterday's judgment, I'm completely disappointed in the Supreme Court, but I cannot also forget that on your mandate, we shall stand.
Okay, so we have to end the program this very way. Many other things we didn't attend to. Perhaps we'll be able to attend to some of them tomorrow by the time we reconverge on this very platform. Thank you, Tony, and thank you to every one of you who listened. My name is Franklin Bekan. Stay tuned for the continuation of our programs. Of course, once we leave this very studio, we're going to treat it to good tunes before 12 when we'll bring you news at noon, and then Cherry Box comes with all the gist coming from different places. Doris Ogala is telling the news and some other persons. Stay with us. My name is Franklin Ebeke. Good morning.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.